Hey guys, welcome back to TSI. I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. So, I want to have another conversation about fanboyism. I really do, because as you know, on ARG and TSI, we've been criticizing heavily Magpul PMags. And one of the things I've been hearing about in response to all these very clear problems, these problems that are frankly just inexcusable when it comes to Magpul quality, is that you're just bashing on the company, or you're bashing on Magpul, or you're not being fair to them. Listen, guys, you don't have to necessarily love every single product the company makes to love them as a whole. Here on TSI, we love Magpul. We absolutely love them. We love most of their products. We think that they're great. Their ARP mags, awesome. Their stocks, awesome. Their slings, awesome again. Their handguards, awesome. So there's a lot of awesome stuff that Magpul does, and even on the political side too. When Colorado was passed its egregious gun control bill, which limited the capacity to 15 rounds, Magpul, what they did is not only did they leave the state, but they also gave away millions of PMags just to regular old people, just for free, just so the people would have those magazines. So that's really cool. But when someone screws up, you've got to tell them about it. You've got to tell them about it. A lot of times, what I'm seeing now with this backlash against Magpul's AKP mags are that people automatically come to their defense and just say, well, Magpul makes a lot of great products. Why are you bashing on them? You're just being a hater, Magpul's amazing. I love you. No. You can't have that mentality. If you allow them a free pass, I always looked at it this way. If you have a friend who's fucking up in life, right, and he's done a lot of good stuff for you in the past, he's looked after your dog, he's picked you up at the airport, whatever, insert cool shit here. If he's done that in the past and then he starts going down a dark path, for example, he doesn't show up to help you, or maybe he's eating wrong, or gets into drugs or something like that, or is just doing stuff that's it's not indicative of what he was or what his potential is, then you call him out on it because you're his friend and you care and you want him to succeed. Now, you don't just give him a free pass for this kind of stuff, because if you give him a free pass, you give them essentially the freedom, or him the freedom to do more bad shit. That is exactly why that on TSI and on ARG we're coming down so hard on these AKP mags. Excuse me. The ARP mags are fucking awesome. Not only is their performance subpar, that's a word that's tossed around a lot. It's subpar in many ways. I would even say just straight up fucking crap. Not only is their performance straight up fucking crap, they're arguing that it's somehow not crap. And their main argument was that in the gun that they tested, or the guns that are out on the market, that a lot of those guns are out of spec and it's causing those magazines to screw up. That's a load of shit. Because if you know anything about AKs, you know that they're all out of spec. AKs are not precisely machined tools. They're not. They're put together. So that they work. And some of them are very well made, but they're not precise. And what I mean by that is that's why on a lot of AKs you got to do fitting. For example, if you try to put a new bolt carrier group in a new AK, it may not fit quite without doing some sort of modification to the part, because frankly they're not made to a specific tight spec like the AR-15. It's like Chris Bondi said. The AR guys, or in America, we expect that the AR-15 to be made to a tight specification, whereas in the Eastern Bloc countries, or where the AK comes from, they didn't ever really have that manufacturing capability. So what they used to do is they used to just make it so that it worked, and then if the gun ever broke, where you had to replace a part, they just replaced the entire gun, because they were meant to be mass-produced. They were never meant to be very well-machined, very precise, interchangeable part guns, because it frankly takes a lot of time to do that, and it requires a massive amount of engineering capability to do something of that sort. So let's talk about Magpul for a little bit. Let's talk about the differences between the AKP mag and the ARP mag. Now, the metal reinforcements have been gone over many times. But there's something else that I think has not been said that really does need to be said. Not only are these PMags not performing very well, but they're also obsolete right out of the gate, or they're inefficient right out of the gate. And let me give you an example. This is an example of a Gen 1 PMAG. Of course, this is no follower, no anything. It's a complete shell because I live in New York. But this is the shell of a Gen 1 PMAG. When this came out, this absolutely revolutionized the AR-15 magazine world. There had been other polymer magazines before, such as the Orlights and the Thermolds, but we don't talk about Thermolds, and we shouldn't even really talk about Orlights. But these things actually made it work. They made these things work because they took what they knew about the AR-15 and they took all the design specifications and they pretty much adapted a magazine to that system. They used their advanced manufacturing to create this. And it works. And it works very well because of the nature of the AR-15. Now, no other country in the world really builds AR-15s like the United States does. We're the native producer of the AR-15. We know it. We created it. We didn't create the AK-47. We could learn from the examples of other countries. If you look at something like a Bakelite magazine, technically that's an inferior polymer or inferior synthetic material. Yet they seem to outlast the AK PMags. Why? Because the Eastern Europeans knew, through trial and error, to reinforce their magazines in certain areas. Things that we haven't done yet in the United States with regard to the AK PMag. Now, I mean rather Magpul hasn't done. We have done it. U.S. Palm magazines reinforced their magazines because they weren't stupid. So, we have that whole thing going on now. So, right out of the gate, the Magpul PMag is obsolete, or just straight up subpar. And I'm not saying polymers can't be very good. They can be, but clearly they're not up to that level yet when they can withstand all that movement and motion and violence of the AK action. So what is to be done about this? Are we going to shit on Magpul for the rest of forever? No, we shouldn't. But we have to make sure that we stay on them and make sure that, listen, this is not good. You cannot get away with this. And as long as we stay on them and we make our complaints visible, viable, loud, and sensical, then they will change, because this is the free market and that's kind of the way it works. Speaking of that, there also have been arguments that if you don't like the Magpul magazines, don't buy them. Fine. That's a perfectly valid argument. But why would you allow a product to be on the market that sucks? If you're a gun guy, you know what I mean. A lot of these products, people stake their lives on. Why would you allow a magazine like this to go uncriticized? Because it is Magpul? Again, that goes into fanboyism. You cannot give anybody a free pass. Nobody. Ever. Ever. I don't care who they are. I do not care who they are. If your life and your little bubble of existence revolves around one single product and one single way of doing things and one single thought process, you're fucking up. The reason why is because we live in a world of fluid motion. We live in a world where things change. We live in a world where things don't always stay the same. And to sort of get yourself within that bubble, or to stay within that safe zone, I'm talking about fanboys mostly, then eventually it's going to cost you something. You can't stay in your bubble without it costing you something. You might be safe within your bubble, you might feel comfortable, but at the same time though, you deny what could be outside. And while outside it might be uncharted territory, it might be even be worse out there, but you'll never know unless you try. And that's the problem with the reaction that we've gotten a lot with these AK PMags. People are defending them. Don't defend them. And don't think you have to. And don't think you have to hate Magpul just because you dislike their magazines. Their AK magazines. The AR magazines are fucking awesome. Even this Gen 1, which is really, really, really kind of a fun thing. Maybe I'll do a video on it one day. But I digress. Guys, I'm pleading with you. Keep an open mind. Recognize what works and doesn't work. And criticize what deserves to be criticized. Because if we don't, then we run the risk of having the U.S. market, or really anything, flooded with crap that we don't need. Stuff that people, based on Magpul's reputation, might go, well, it's Magpul, I'll buy it, and it should be good. It's not good. If you're gonna buy your product, if you're gonna buy something based on the name of a product, it better be good. Or the name of a company, rather. It better be good. And frankly, the AK PMags are not. So guys, as you've seen, one drop test to rule them all. Aaron just did it. He just took an AKP mag and dropped it on the feed lips, and it broke. And you might even say, well, that was the old generation. That was the old generation. You know, honestly, it wouldn't have made a difference because the feed lips are still not reinforced on the new magazines. The problem has not gotten better. The only thing that's gotten better is the lug right here. Now you can't break it off as easily. Whoop-de-fucking-do. You know, it's one of those things where they're improving it in almost stages rather than just coming out with an improved magazine. I almost think that they're doing it just to make more money, which is kind of a fucked up business. I know it's a business decision, but it's kind of a fucked up thing to do, especially when you have something that, you know, can improve lives or save lives. It's like if somebody, I'm sure this has happened before, but let's be honest. If somebody had a machine that could revive people from various forms of horrible injury, and they had the ability to do it, and they had the knowledge to do it, but they said did it in stages just to make more money. Don't you think it's kind of fucked up? I mean, there's a balance between making money and making profit and doing right by your customers. And honestly, I don't think Magpul's doing that right now. So with that, guys, I'll just say one last thing. Don't be a fanboy. Criticize, criticize, criticize. I know I've said it many times in this video, but it bears repeating because sometimes people just don't want to do it. Don't be afraid to. ARG and TSI have never been supported by any sort of outside influence, monetarily or otherwise. There's nobody pulling the strings behind the scenes here. We're just a bunch of normal people who will do reviews, who will give you your opinion based on our experiences and also based on knowledge that's commonly available. So I'm sorry if that offends you. I truly am. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but if it does, you might want to reevaluate your priorities. Anyways, guys, this is Dave from TSI reminding you, please don't be a fucking fanboy. And thanks a lot for watching. We'll continue to update you with the AKP Mag debacle, and hopefully things will get better. Let's hope, right? Okay, guys, have a good one.